All right, now let me talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. All right, this ain't the Bucks team of old. This is a different team. They kept the same core qualities that have always been a tradition with this team, which is good overall defense. But they've added some things to this year's team, and the two things that they've improved at is their overall rebounding, and some of that has to do with the addition of Brook Lopez and the improvement of Giannis Antetokounmpo. And the biggest difference is their offense, and in particular, their three-point shooting. This was not something that was part of their DNA before, but now they're the number one three-point shooting team in the NBA as far as makes and attempts. They're the most prolific three-point shooting team, and at 37%, they're one of the best three-point shooting teams, percentage-wise. And they're still a great defensive team. They're still one of the top teams in steals and deflections. But they play at a different pace now. We see that tonight when they beat the shit out of the Portland Trailblazers, 143 to 100, I think it was. The Bucks wouldn't have been able to do that last year. This is a Bucks team that now has the offensive firepower to come back from big deficits. I saw a glaring statistic from last year where under Jason Kidd, the Bucks fell behind in 46 out of 82 games. This year, it's a much smaller number, and oftentimes the Bucks are blowing teams out. So this is a different team. They're 13-4 now, and much of the credit should go to the improvement of players like Middleton, Giannis. Giannis this year is averaging about 25 points and 12 and a half rebounds. But one of the biggest pieces is the hiring of Mike Budenholzer. I'm going to ruin his fucking name. I think it's Mike Budenholzer. And Mike Budenholzer was the coach of the Atlanta Hawks, and he was at the helm of that 60-win Hawk team that had absolutely no business winning 60 games. And, I knew they weren't going to be a team that was going to beat, the Cleveland Cavaliers in the playoffs, but the fact that they were able to win 60 games that year was impressive. Mike Budenholzer was a longtime assistant with Greg Popovich, so you have to feel the fact that he was a longtime protege of, well, I don't know if I want to say, well, yeah, I guess I will use the term protege. Long-term protege of Popovich lets you know what Popovich thinks of him and what's rubbed off on him. And I think the difference between Budenholzer and Kidd is, from what I'm reading, most great NBA players with the intensity that Jason Kidd had, they're great at. Jason Kidd fit the era that he played in. He was a great defensive player. He was serious-minded. He was all business on the basketball court. I vividly remember an All-Star game. I can't remember whether it was 2002 or 2003, but it was one of those two games. It might have been 2003, where he famously chided Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, this is when Jordan was with the Wizards. Michael Jordan for getting back on defense and getting his head back in the game. Nobody did that to Michael. That's how intense of a competitor Jason Kidd is. And, but I don't know whether or not Jason Kidd's approach to coaching resonates well to the players of today. Now, let's face it, don't get offended, younger people, but you guys are a little bit more sensitive than people of my generation. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong. There's always been there's people who respond to getting yelled at. It it brings out the dog in them. Charles Barkley used to say that when he was with the Phoenix Suns, he could yell at certain people. He could yell at, for instance, a Dan Marley, and it would pump him up. But then there's some people that you yell at, and it's like they want to cry. So he said, there's certain people you learn that you can't come at them like that. And I think Budenholzer is a politician. He knows how to motivate certain people. He was Giannis Antetokounmpo was saying that Budenholzer would just this season he's told Giannis to work on his 3-point shooting, have more confidence shooting from outside. Even though the numbers tell you that he shouldn't be shooting from outside. But Budenholzer has confidence that Giannis can improve on that shot. And that's what can drive certain players, especially the great ones. That's what can drive them to improve. I would get the impression that Kidd would look at analytics and say, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. And he would probably just always chastising players. And you can't always do that with every, bad performance or bad play, because you can get to the point where guys are starting to play tentative and scared. And I get the impression that's something that happened with Jason Kidd. And sometimes most of the times, a great player does not translate into a great coach. Larry Bird was an exception, and he had an exceptional assistant coaching staff to assist him when he was with the Indiana Pacers back in the late 90s. But I think the Bucks are for real. I think I would be shocked if this team doesn't make it out of the second round of playoffs. But I think that the Bucks and the Raptors, I'll give a nod to the Sixers. I think those are the top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference. The Celtics, I don't know what's going on. I kind of didn't include them in the trio before. They don't look like the same team. All right. Interestingly enough, they played better last year, than they're playing this year. Haywood is still not quite right. I don't know if he'll ever be the same player that he was with Utah, but then you can make the argument, well, was he ever as good as we thought he was? Kyrie Irving's the type of player, in my opinion, he's a phenomenal ISO player. But a lot of times, ISO players don't improve the guys around them. You know what I mean? Like when he was with Cleveland, he was putting up good, solid numbers before LeBron got there. But they weren't a good team overall, with Kyrie Irving. Remember that? You remember Kyrie was putting up maybe 21 points a game, 22 points a game, 23 points a game. But Cleveland was only winning 33 games. They were going 33 and 48 or something like that, or 33 and 49 or something, 27 and 54. They sucked. Okay, and it wasn't until LeBron James got there. I criticized LeBron a lot, but LeBron James is LeBron James. And then all of a sudden they became a championship caliber team. And you're kind of seeing now, unless Kyrie is really going offensively, unless he's playing in a certain way where he is trying to involve people consciously, a lot of times Kyrie stagnates the offense when he's going one-on-one like that. And that's hurting the team. Plus you have with, I think, Jason Tatum, this year he's having that sophomore slump. Teams kind of get a little bit more familiar with you. Teams are learning how to, game plan for you as opposed to when you're a rookie. Teams are still trying to figure you out. That's part of it. But Boston doesn't look like Boston. I'm not going to write them out because essentially this is the first year that you've seen a lot of these guys play together for a long period of time at least. And, we'll see with that team. But The Bucks, to me, are for real. So tell me what you guys think.